them random.
Apparently, they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a because Twitter's not a real place.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hip Hop Twitter. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. And this podcast, along with all the other podcasts I do, are brought to you by the producers of this podcast, of this content stream over at patreon.com/hiphopnow. If you would like to learn more, the link is in the description of this episode. With me, as always, it's the homie, Yentz. What's good, man?
What's going on? Happy birthday to you, my brother.
Thanks, man. I was a little down, not in spirits. Well, in spirits also, other kind of spirits, if you know what I mean. But I was like dealing with some sickness, and I originally, all right, so let me just tell y'all, since I just started, other podcasts do this, so shut up and just listen. All right, not you, Jens. I'm just talking about the naysayers. But I went out of town, and on the iPhone, there's this exposure notification thing that's been on my phone since it was available during the pandemic. Never received a notification ever from that app or whatever, or that feature. And lo and behold, on Thursday of last week, if you're from the future, you know what to do, get your punk ass out of here. But nevertheless, last week, a feed, it pops up, notification. You may have been exposed to someone with COVID. And I read it, and it was like someone who uses the same feature on their iPhone tested positive for COVID and you were exposed around these dates. And if you don't know, it basically works where the proximity of your phone is there to connect it to without any personal information. So if one person decides to go into that app because they tested positive, to notify anyone who may have been near them at any point, that's when you all get a notification. It's pretty dope, but it's also creepy when you think about it. So me not wanting to, be dumb and not pay attention to it, I scheduled a COVID test for Saturday. Then I noticed I started getting sick, and I was like, I probably got it. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. I deal with allergies every time this season. Test was negative. But unfortunately, my birthday was Sunday, and I was a little under the weather. And it wasn't really a nice day out here in the tri-state area. So it's all crazy. It's just craziness, is madness. But nevertheless, man, thank you for the birthday wishes, especially also to other people online who also wish me a happy birthday. Turning 22 doesn't happen that much,
That's right. That's right.
Doesn't really happen that often. So you got to appreciate when you turn 21. You see how I switched the age on you? I feel good at the age of 20. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? But thanks, man. Thanks, facts. But if you are listening for the very first time, and this is episode 11, Jens, I don't typically do this, and I know I said we're gonna go quickly, but I feel like I have to do this so people know, because not everyone has been listening to every episode. The premise of this episode, or of this show, I should say, is that I don't use Twitter enough to follow every trend to know everything that's happening. Jens also has a life, but he's more plugged into Twitter. So a lot of times there are hot takes or whatever on Twitter about hip hop that I miss. And Jens made a habit of, did you see what this guy said? And I would be baffled by some of it. So we thought it'd be a great idea to get my honest reaction to your tweets. So with that being said, Jens, what the fuck are people talking about on hip hop Twitter this week?
Big L is better at rhyming than Big Smalls. and
Ooh.
there's a second part. So let me just give you that right quick. Big L
Mm.
is better than Biggie lyrically. He's just straight up and down better than Biggie, according to a couple of people.
And we just talking lyrics.
We talking, yeah, lyrics and the way he MCs is just all around better than Biggie Small.
Oh, so lyrics, Big L's lyrics and technique are better than Biggie
Yes,
all around, basically.
yes.
Mm. I th- I will say this. Biggie's my favorite rapper. That doesn't mean I'm a blind stan that doesn't know or can't compare certain artists. I feel like they're too different as far as their styles and their approach to rhyming. They're nice in two different ways.
Mm,
Big L is more traditional MC. Biggie is a rapper that can MC, but he's more about rapping and more importantly storytelling. Big L is more about bars and metaphors and similes and stuff like that. So it's difficult to compare those two. Like if you said Big L is a better rapper than Fabulous, I think they do the same thing. Fabulous may make party records here and there, but he kind of has the same technique as Big L, right? That traditional technique. You know what I'm saying? I beat you like you stole something. I know that's a whack bar, but you know what I mean. Uh, so I can't, I'm not mad. I don't think that's a hot take, but it's very debatable. What do you think?
no, I think everything you just said I agree with, and my opinion on it is, uh, I I disagree with the initial statement. Uh, I don't I don't think Big L is better at rhyming than Biggie, nor is he better lyrically. I mean, there's too many.
Mm,
To me, there's too many. Big got too many songs where lyrically he comes off in a big way.
right,
Uh,
right.
so in that sense, no. The better at rhyming, again, I have to say I agree with you. They're different in that aspect. So no, not a hot take in my opinion either. But Biggie's clearly, in my opinion, the better artist, better all around MC.
That I will say, I think Biggie is a better artist than
Mm-hmm,
Big L.
mm-hmm,
Clearly, by a long shot, because the part of Biggie that was so dope that made him my favorite artist is he can do what Big L does, but he could
right,
also do more. Big L
right,
hasn't didn't prove that he could do more than what he's known for doing. Um, Example of Biggie doing what Big L does, small example, Brooklyn's finest, right? If Faith had twins, she probably have two Pacs. Get it?
right, right.
Two Pacs. That's what Big L does. He does that
Absolutely,
kind of bar all the time.
absolutely.
But he can't do a one more chance, a juicy, everyday struggle, a warning. These are give me the loot. These are really different styles.
Right.
Whereas Big L is one style. So you know what, Yens? I'm starting to lean. The more we talk about, I'm starting to lean. I'm not being biased. I know I'm a Biggie fan. Uh, but I'm saying naming those songs, think of Biggie's style on those different songs. I really only named what Juicy being one that's doesn't take much to do that, but Big L's never done it, right?
No.
Uh Different voices,
Right.
storytelling, hardcore party. Yeah. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree overall because this is the thing, Gins, and let me ask you about this real quick. Not to spend too much time on this, but I kind of feel, and I'm making an assumption. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel sometimes because of the nature of Twitter and hip hop takes and hip hop hot takes, that a lot of people don't say these things in the same way they mean them, right? Like when everybody calls everybody the GOAT. Well, how can he be the greatest of all time? Everybody can't be the greatest of all time. It got to be
Right,
one,
right,
right?
right.
But they do it because they just mean they like him a lot. And they won't just say that; they'll just say the GOAT. And I kind of feel like this statement was more so them saying he is a better artist than Biggie. You know what I'm saying? But they kind of went to the things that the areas of it that Big L would clearly win in most people's eyes. Because if you're talking about lyrics, well, you're thinking about this bar king. But Biggie has proven that he can do that too. It's just not the only thing he does. So
Right. And real quick too, none of this is to say Big L is whack. Please, people, it's not. It's not a statement of Big L being whack. Big L
right,
is dope. Big L is dope. Biggie is doper.
right. I think well, we're gonna have to stretch this one out just a little bit, Yents. For people who don't know, this love for Big L has always existed, don't get me wrong, but this upgrade of his status in the hip hop world is new, and it's coming from the internet, and it's coming from people who either want to rewrite history, but Big L wasn't the big artist that they will make you think he was. Definitely not to be compared to Biggie at all, not
No,
even close.
no.
um Big L literally had one album. You can't really count a posthumous album because it's really like taking the scraps that you have and making an album. It's not the same as Pun's Yeah Baby, where he kind of saw it through damn near to the end, right? It was basically done. On Fife's album, right? Or that Tribe album that he was on. Fife worked on those things to completion for the most part.
Mm.
Big L really only had one album, and that one album with DITC production was not crazy. Back then, it was not. We just knew he was nice, and that's what we liked about
Right,
him. But
right.
that album didn't hit the way it should have when you look at the albums that were released in and around that time. What do you think? Am I underestimating Big L's status in the history?
Oh, man, look, I people gotta understand you can be dope. You can be dope. That is being dope is not a slight. There's everybody is striving to be dope. There are people who just can't reach dope. So goddamn, if you dope, I mean, we talking about the internet and everything. So man, Big L is dope. Period. I'm a fan of Big L, but I'm not gonna say what these people have said in these tweets. Biggie is just straight up doper than Big L.
Yeah. And there it is. You heard Yentz. You see his tag. Go ahead and jump in his DMs. Go ahead and tag him in all your Big L hatred. Uh what else are people talking about on Twitter?
Is MC Shan really a hip hop legend, or is he just a Queens, New York legend? What
Ooh.
makes MC Shan a legend? The Bridge
What
is a
makes him a
legendary
legend?
song, but is it
Okay.
legendary in the same sense as Cream by Wu Tang?
Oh my God.
What what classic LP does MC Shan have?
Okay, stop it. What you done or you going to you keep going? You can.
Well, the only other response that I'm going to add to it is that a person tweeted out that Shan has two classic albums.
Hmm. Now this is where the age catches me. I was a kid when Shan was out. I consider him a hip hop legend. To call him a New York Queens, New York at that, legend. It's just saying he was only hot in his borough. When you say that to me,
Right.
nothing could be further from the truth. Calling it because you're calling MC Shan local. That's what you're saying, right? He's local.
Right.
When you say that, nothing can be further from the truth. MC Shan was hot back then. You underestimate the significance of the song The Bridge.
Mm.
That beat is one of the greatest beats of all time.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Like that you can take that song alone and he's already revered as a legend in the game. I know this should take more than that, but also you got to understand the dynamics of the 80s where you could have a single that's just as big as an album.
That's right. That 12 inches floating across the continent.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. That 12-inch held a lot of power. You know what I'm saying? Like getting the album after that was just a cherry on top. And it didn't have to be crazy, but he did have other songs.
Mm.
And he even had a really good album after The Bridges overhit him. So it's sort of like, unfortunately, it's probably what they're gonna do with Ja Rule, right? But it's sort of like people are forgetting or missing the context of what he meant when this stuff was out. What were the people like? What were the responses? Ladies was loving them. Now, Jens, I know what it is. I know what it is. Because when you see him now, you like this crackhead was what?
Oh, yeah.
How this a legend? Like this crackhead? He wasn't. Oh, maybe he was always a crack, but whatever. You can't deny it, Jens. I know you went to school in the 60s. Tell these people, man.
Man, look. The,
You didn't go to school in the 60s, by the way, y'all.
no, I didn't. I didn't. MC Shan is without question a hip hop legend. Hip hop legend. I totally agree with what you said. To relegate him to Queens, New York, is cutting him so short. That's crazy. And to compare, is the bridge revered by hip hop as Cream is? I would say fucking right it is. Old Wu-Tang would say the same thing. Yes, the bridge is,
Right.
I mean, it's just the quintessential. It's the perfect example of a classic.
True.
One of the greatest beats. I gotta repeat what you said. It's one of the greatest beats recorded. Okay, Shan. The only thing I might take a little bit of I wouldn't say that Shan has two classics. I would say he has one classic, and the next album is pretty close. It's pretty close to what I might say is a classic, but I can't call the second joint a classic. But I mean, and then that album went across the country. That album found its way down here to New Orleans. I heard it. I personally bought it. So without question, I mean, people heard it. That 12-inch, like we said before, gotta repeat it. People don't understand that 12-inch will float around for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
That 12-inch alone got Shan across the United States, I'm sure. That
Right.
even probably Shan overseas. I think people mess up yeah, of course, the bridge wars and all like that. It didn't go Shan's way. But that don't diminish his legend. He is a legend. You can, I don't know what, because everybody always says things about criteria and how do you come up with these legends. I think you can pull heads across the nation about MC Shan. I think a lot of people will say, I mean, of a certain age. Well, let's just say that. if of a certain age, I think they would say that MC Shan is a legend. But if you of an age where you only seeing these videos where he's not looking his best, then you probably have formed an opinion off of that and that kind of stuff. But no, MC Shan is a straight up legend.
What do you think about MC Shan? Do you feel like he's not a legend? Do you feel like people are rewriting history when they say things like that? Do you feel like Big L is better than Biggie? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Check out our other episodes of Hip Hop Twitter. We got plenty of them. So trust me, they don't get old when you hear some of these takes. But please know that this podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. All you got to do is on your favorite podcasting app, type in the search bar, Hip Hop Now Podcast, hit subscribe, and stay locked into weekly hip hop content. I am Vegas of Hip Hop Now Podcast on behalf of the homie Yentz. Tweet responsibly with your punk ass. Peace, man. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.